Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the All In podcast. We are back, episode 62, probably a longer break than you expected from us. But we're back for real this time. I am one of the co-hosts, Mike Badzik. I'm joined by my co-host, my long-lost friend, Eli Cooper. What's up, man?
Yeah, man, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. Season 2, episode 2, or episode 62 overall. Yes. We've had quite a layoff. We know, guys. We're sorry. Well, really, I'm not that sorry. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not that sorry. My guys were playing incredible basketball at Columbia.
Right.
So, both of us, we were coaching. So those of you guys that don't know, Mike also coaches basketball. We've had our head coach at Columbia on the podcast way back in the day, about 50 episodes ago.
Right.
So if you guys don't remember that, I do coach myself. So we're both in the middle of our seasons. That's why you haven't heard much from us lately. My guys went to a district final, lost a heartbreaker. And unfortunately, normally we would go to states after that, but this year, COVID, a little bit different here in Pennsylvania, just district champions go. So our season came to an end, but proud of those guys, man. And I had a lot of fun coaching those guys this year.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome to hear you guys had success this year. We were both coaching. But both of our seasons are over now. So we are back, and we're going to be doing this once a week is the plan right now. We're planning on dropping every Thursday. So watch out for us every Thursday. And then we're thinking once we get towards the NBA playoffs, we might pick that up a little bit as things start to heat up. But that's the plan right now, is to have these out on Thursday. So keep an eye out for those guys. Do want to mention, before we start our conversation today, we are presented by mybookie.ag. Head over there and use the promo code ALLINPOD, one word, ALLINPOD. Get 100% bonus match on your first deposit. When you use that promo code, make sure you use that promo code so you get that bonus and so they know that we sent you. Good place to be right now with college basketball coming up. There is a ton of games to not only gamble on, but to watch. And that is what we are focusing our conversation on today. I think this is our first college basketball episode. We've talked about college basketball from a NCAA eligibility and more of a big picture macro, what is college basketball mean or whatever, but we haven't actually talked about like games and make predictions and things like that. And that's what we're doing today, which with March Madness being back. Let me ask you this. How are you feeling about March Madness this year? Does it feel like a normal March Madness? Are you excited at least?
So far, everything feels the same. Granted, that's probably going to change, right? The conference tournaments had a couple of bumps. Duke, was unfortunately knocked out of the ACC tournament by COVID. Probably good for them, though, because they were going to get knocked out by someone else.
Now they have the excuse.
With how bad they've been, right?
Right. They were just getting hot. That's what they're going to say now. Every Duke guy we know, we were just getting hot.
That's exactly what they're going to say. So I love taking a shot at Duke. As you guys may not know, I'm a Tar Heels fan. Tar Heel and Villanova fan, depends on who you're asking, my mom or my dad. But so I've always had a long hatred for Duke, and to see them get bounced out by COVID wasn't fun. I'd rather see them lose. But cue up your excuses, guys, and we'll see you guys again next year.
Yeah, it was interesting. And I've never been a Duke guy either. Not a North Carolina fan necessarily, but just always hated them. Sports hate for them. And when Pitt went to the ACC, that magnified, because I'm a Pitt guy. If you guys don't know, we had a rough season, but really this was for all blue bloods, quote unquote blue bloods, right? Think of these, normal powerhouses: Duke, Carolina, Kansas struggled at times. They picked it up though and ended up with a 3 seed though. Michigan State looked like they weren't going to make the tournament for a while, and they ended up squeezing in, I think, 11 seed. Kentucky, nowhere to be found. You think about these blue blood programs, and it's going to be different this year, just not having them in the tournament.
Yeah, and not having them be major factors. So, even the ones that did make it, like you mentioned, Michigan State's in a play-in game for the 11th seed. Kansas is a 3 seed, and we will talk about them a little bit later. North Carolina, my beloved Tar Heels, are an 8 seed.
Right.
After a rocky start, they kind of picked it up in the middle towards end of the season. But, those teams are not anywhere in the picture as far as like your national champion predictions, unless you're like a true homer or have a wacky bracket that has one of them making some kind of run. But the biggest thing behind that, I think, is a lot of those Blue Bloods heavily rely on high-end freshman recruits, right? And especially, look at North Carolina, Caleb Love, RJ Davis. You look at Michigan State. They had a younger team than what they typically do. Kentucky always has freshmen, so that's nothing new there. And Duke has adopted the one and done policy, so their team was incredibly young as well. So because those teams were so young, they had no off season, no preseason really because of COVID. Those young players just got thrown in the fire, and I think that made it difficult for them. So like if you didn't have Cade Cunningham or Jalen Suggs or Evan Mobley, those top 3 dogs as freshmen, and you had maybe some lower level freshmen, then you were relying on them to get you wins this year, you really struggled because they most of them weren't ready. And I think that's why we saw the Blue Bloods struggle, unless those freshmen were surrounded by upperclassmen or unless they were just flat out studs like the 3 guys I mentioned.
Right. And even Suggs, he is surrounded by those upperclassmen, and that's why Gonzaga really is, I would say, probably the far and away favorite, right? If you look at the books and you look at people's predictions, Gonzaga is the favorite, and that's why, right? Like in a season like this where you have limited practice time, it's a weird schedule, right? You're playing a lot of the same teams over and over again. I was looking at Colgate. I was thinking about Colgate for picking an upset, and they've actually played 15 games, but they've only played 5 opponents, right? So they played the same 5 teams. It's like, well, I'm not picking them because they haven't really played anybody. That's the story with a lot of teams, though, with the limited travel and the limited schedule with this COVID season. But I'm happy that they made it through. So one thing too, I noticed this year. I don't know if you noticed this. The schedule is different this year, right? So normally we would have the play-in games would have been Tuesday and Wednesday night with 64 on Thursday, Friday, and 32 on Saturday, Sunday, and then the next week Sweet 16 on Thursday, Friday, Elite 8, Saturday, Sunday, and then the Final Four Saturday and Monday the following week. This year it's actually different. So all of the playing games are on this Thursday, right? So we'll be releasing this, and you guys will be watching those games after you listen to this. And then the 64 round is Friday, Saturday, with the 32 round Sunday, Monday. And the next week is where I think it's a little even weirder, where they do Sweet 16 on Saturday, Sunday, and then the Elite 8 is actually Monday, Tuesday, and then the Final Four and championship game are like a normal Saturday, Monday. I don't know why they did this. Am I wrong? And this is new, right? This is not how it normally is.
No, not at all.
Okay. Did they give you? Do you know the reason or no?
I don't. I'm assuming it's COVID related, but they haven't said anything for sure.
That's what I'm thinking too. I kind of liked the old way, to be honest. I liked the Thursday, because I remember like growing up in school, right? Our basketball coach was a teacher, and we would always go to his room at noon. We'd be in his room from noon on, just watching the tournament games. So I kind of missed that aspect of it, but I think it'll be a great tournament. We were talking before we started recording about kind of the season and how it was going, and really conference tournament week is when it picked up for me. Because obviously Pitt being struggling this year mightily, as they have been for a couple of years, ever since they joined the ACC. Great decision by them. That's really worked out. So I haven't been following as closely until these conference tournaments, and now I'm like all in on this. I'm ready to go. I'm excited about the tournament. So let's get into it, Eli. We're going to start by picking some upsets in the first round. First round upsets. Give me a couple. Or one or two that you're really keen in on?
Well, one of the biggest one that I think that's probably going to shock the most people, and if you've watched a lot of college basketball, maybe not, but my biggest upset I have in my first round of my bracket is Ohio over Virginia. 13 seed Ohio over 4 seed Virginia. Listen, I'm actually a big Tony Bennett fan as in regards to his defensive coaching, the pack line defense. I'm a firm believer in that philosophy. I don't love the slow tempo of offense that he plays, and I think that actually hurts them in tournament time. because if they get behind, they are not built to come back from something like that. And this is not one of his better teams. Not to say that they're bad. They're 18-6, so they're certainly not a bad team. But this is not one of his better or more talented teams. They're really heavily reliant on their front court. Their back court, it can struggle a little bit. If you could force Clark. I don't even want to try to pronounce his first name. But if you can force Clark to drive and finish in the lane, that's where Virginia struggles the most. So if you can kind of handle their front court. And then Ohio has Jason Preston.
Yes.
Like that dude, as far as mid-major guards, is a killer. He's one of those guys. He's probably a first-round pick in the NBA. Do-it-all kind of guy, averages 16, 7, and 7. Like, that's the kind of guy that causes first-round upsets. So with, the flaws that Virginia has, I really like Ohio. I actually picked them to win in that first-round game, and I had them advancing into the Sweet 16, beating Creighton in the second round. But that's my biggest first-round upset is Ohio over Virginia.
I love that one. I actually have that one picked as well. And, kind of had a feeling before we even talked any college hoops that me and you would be on the same page on a lot of these. And the reason is we kind of think the same way about this. And you know where I'm going with this. We want the strong guards, right?
Yep.
And not necessarily the guards who are going to go get you buckets, but the guards who are going to be strong in a sense of not turning the ball over and controlling the tempo of the game, right? So a lot of the things I was looking at and trying to pick these games and pick winners was like turnover margin, assist to turnover ratio, free throw percentage. I think is a huge stat. Just looking at that. So I think we're going to be along the lines on a lot of these picks.
Yeah.
So I also had Ohio. I have a couple here. First one I think is kind of a gimme. I really do think this is a gimme, and this one might actually hurt you. I think it's Winthrop over Villanova. And, I'm not sure Villanova was that good anyway, right? And this is a situation where they do earn a 5 seed because of the season they had, but then, Colin Gillespie goes out early March with the MCL.
Yeah.
Losing him against a good Winthrop team, right? This isn't just like a mid-major we've never heard of. Winthrop is there every year almost. They represent that Big South well. I think they had a 24-win season maybe, and they're on a huge winning streak right now. So I've got Winthrop over Villanova.
Yeah, I went back and forth on this pick, honestly, because Villanova looked significantly worse after Colin went down. I don't know that there's a single player in the country more important to his team than Colin Gillespie. And it showed after he got hurt. I mean, they barely scraped by Creighton after he went down, after controlling that first half. They almost blew that game. They then went into, I want to say it's Providence. They went to Providence, lost that game by 1, and then lost to Georgetown. So they lost close games. So I'm trying not to hold it too much against them. Like, those were really close games. And also Justin Moore got hurt against Providence. And then came off the bench against Georgetown. So I'm assuming that a healthy Justin Moore will help them adjust to life without Gillespie. But I'm legitimately concerned. They got one of the worst 12 seeds that you can get in Winthrop. So I went back and forth on that pick. I do still have Villanova winning in that game, but only because I'm hoping that Justin Moore returning and being healthy and them having some time to prepare on how to play without Colin, figure out the ball handling situation, stuff like that. I think they'll get more practice time. They've gotten more practice time coming into the tournament. I think that will help them edge by, but I would not be surprised if they lose.
I mean, they're definitely the better team, right? Even if you matched up these rosters without Gillespie, they're probably still a better roster. But when you think about Jay Wright teams and the ones that have had any amount of success in the tournament, it's all about the point guard a lot of the time, right? Jalen Brunson, Archie Diacono, and then of course Scotty Reynolds. My worst enemy. That guy's been in my nightmares for 14 years now. So you think about Villanova teams. Okay, how many upsets you got here? I have 4. So do you have a couple more?
I do have another one. Yes. Okay. If you're doing a bracket, if not sure how long you guys listening have been doing this, but if you've done them for a while, you have to have a 12-5 upset. You have to. It happens every year. There's always one. It's just a matter of picking the right one.
Yes.
My 12-5 upset was Georgetown over Colorado.
All right, well, I'll stop you there because I have that too. I have that one written down as well.
Yes. So Georgetown over Colorado. And to be honest, this is like solely a gut pick because nothing about Georgetown before the Big East tournament said, "Hey, one, they probably weren't going to make the tournament if they didn't run the table." But so we're not even having this discussion. But when a team runs the table in their conference tournament, beware of that team because typically that energy or that momentum carries into the NCAA tournament. And I think it will for at least the first round here as they get the upset over, a 5 seed that isn't really a powerhouse program in Colorado. Not that they're bad or anything like that. I don't hate Colorado, but I don't love them. So I got Georgetown over Colorado in the first round as well.
I got that one too. And, Georgetown, Patrick Ewing, how about that guy taking this team?
Yeah.
I do not see him losing in the first round. And this is a team who, looking at it now, it's like, wow, they really got hot. How did they win all these games? Well, they shoot a lot of threes, right? They shoot almost as many threes as anybody else in the country. And they got hot. The threes started falling, and they started winning games. So if they can keep that hotness alive, which is what you're talking about here, I also think they'll be Colorado, who I do not think is a strong 5 seed. So, okay, I've got – this one might surprise you. I've got two. The last one I'll say is probably the biggest shock. I've got Liberty over Oklahoma State though here, and I like Oklahoma State, right? Obviously, Cade Cunningham is a top 3 pick in the draft, as you said, right? One of the best top 2, right? But Liberty is a really, really good team. They won 27 games this year. I don't think this is a team that anybody wants to see, right? A lot of teams are probably hoping that they were seeded higher than what they were so they could avoid them in the first round. They're a really good team. They have 3 strong guards, right? 3 strong guards who can all handle the ball. They do not turn the ball over. Oklahoma State, 269th in turnover margin this season. They turn the ball over, right? And Liberty plays great defense. So I think if Liberty can force them into turnovers and hold on to the ball, like they're a strong, confident team too. All right, when you have a confident team against a team who's turning the ball over, it's tough to pick against Cunningham, obviously. But this is one that I'm kind of going out on a limb on.
Yeah, and that's as great as Cunningham is. At the end of the day, he's a freshman, so that's certainly something you got to be worried about when it comes to turnovers. So most freshman-led teams are a heavy turnover prone, and the guard play around him isn't superb. So that one had me going back and forth a little bit too. So I am worried about Oklahoma State. The last upset that I had was Michigan State over BYU. So I think Michigan State's going to beat UCLA. You guys are listening to this on Thursday, so I'll say tonight. I think Michigan State beats UCLA tonight. And I always like the 11 seed that has a play-in game to win their first round game, again, because of momentum that typically carries over. So I like them to beat a BYU team that I actually like, but that momentum almost seems to be an unfair advantage for in that 11-6 matchup. So I'm going to take Michigan State to advance over BYU, or if it's UCLA, the bracket in ESPN doesn't really let you choose one or the other. But I think even if UCLA wins that game, I'd take them over BYU just because of the momentum factor.
I agree. I like that pick too. I love that. I love that playing game into the next one. And Mr. March, Tom Izzo, probably is going to have something up his sleeve, right? And with his, he's got a younger team, like you mentioned, but there is senior leadership there.
Yeah.
So, okay, my last one is probably the craziest one that we've talked about. This is a 14 over 3, and it's probably going to shock you. I'm actually going with Abilene Christian over Texas, and I'll tell you why. I mentioned the turnover margin. Abilene Christian actually leads the NCAA. They have the best turnover margin in the NCAA. Texas is 272nd. Okay, they're actually averaging 15 turnovers a game, right? And this Abilene Christian team played Texas Tech earlier this year. Team similar to Texas made them turn the ball over 16 times, which is uncharacteristic of them. Problem is they only scored 44 points and they lost. Also I think there's this thing with Texas. They're 0-9 in their last 9 tournament games against the spread. Shaka Smart. I think we have this idea of who Shaka Smart is, and he's not actually that guy, right? So he took VCU to the Final Four once upon a time, a long time ago. He's not made it to the Sweet 16 since, right?
Yeah.
So it has been a struggle. I would not, talk about teams who are, hot, won their conference tournament. I think that makes Texas a hot pick.
Yeah.
But they didn't really win their conference tournament, right? Because the COVID cancellations, it was kind of a here you go. So I got Abilene Christian. I think that's the craziest one, but I'm sticking with it.
That is the craziest one. Yes, you're right.
Hey, clip this. I want this clipped on Twitter.
Yes. Listen.
When it happens.
There's no such thing as a crazy pick, honestly, in March Madness. We saw a 16 seed beat a 1 seed not too long ago. So anything goes in these tournaments. So keep that in mind when you guys are filling out your brackets.
Yep. All right, so let's move on then, and we'll stay with the upset theme, but we'll talk more about maybe like a top seed, a 1 seed, a 2 seed. Probably not going to have any lose in the first round. Certainly not any that we're going to pick to lose in the first round. But once we get into that second round, we get those 1, 8, or 9, and those 2, 7, or 10 matchups. There's some upset potential there. Who on the 1 or 2 seed line are you looking at in a second round loss?
Well, I'll say the 1 seed that I'm most worried about is actually the 1 seed that I really like, which is Michigan.
Yeah.
I've gotten a chance to watch them quite a bit this year, and I love Michigan. I really do. The reason why I'm concerned is Isaiah Livers went down and is out indefinitely. We don't know what his status is going to be when he's coming back, if he's coming back.
Yep.
And he's one of their top 3 scorers. So that to me is cause for pause. And they're going to either get LSU or St. Bonaventure in the second round. And I think both of those games are going to be tough because LSU just barely lost in their SEC championship to Alabama and has really good guard play. I really like that LSU team. And St. Bonaventure won their A-10 tournament, so they're a little bit hot coming in. So either one of those teams that they end up seeing in the second round is going to give them a battle. And that's what concerns me so much, about them. If they had Isaiah Livers, I don't think I'm even having this discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, they concern me without him. They concern me.
I picked them to lose too. And to the Bonnies. I got the Bonnies going to the Sweet 16 and beating Michigan. It's exactly what you said, right? This is a team that already has, again, and I'm gonna keep bringing this up throughout the pod because I think it's important, turnovers. They turn the ball over already. They're already a team who does that, and you lose a star player like that. I think that makes it tough.
Yeah.
Another one I'm looking at is this is going to shock you as well, and that's Illinois in this second round matchup. And if it's Georgia Tech, I think they're fine. I think they handled Georgia Tech pretty well. If it's Loyola Chicago, right? We remember this team. We remember this team in the Final Four in 2018, right? Here's the thing: they're all seniors now. A lot of these guys were on that Final Four team, right? Okay, number 1 defensive efficiency in NCAA this year. Okay, best defense. This is not an 8 seed, actually. I think they should have been closer to a 4 or 5 seed. If you look at their net rating, it's actually 10th in the country. And Illinois turn the ball over, right? The guard play. I know they have. I can't pronounce his name. I'm gonna. But Coffee. I know I can't pronounce his name.
Coburn.
Coburn. Yeah, I can't pronounce his name, but I know that they are a very talented team and they have been on a roll lately. But I'm looking at this as one of these matchups where you have this team and it's a Illinois battle, right? Chicago basketball, Chicago versus Illinois.
Yep.
There's going to be something to that. They're going to be a chip on their shoulder, and I think they can pull it off. I'll go that one for my first 1 seed loss.
Yeah, that second round matchup scared me a lot too. Loyola Chicago is a team that nobody wants to see as a top seed in the tournament, and I think it was a little unfair that not only that they're an 8 seed, but they got in Illinois' bracket in the Midwest, despite Illinois being the number 2 overall team. Right. Coming into it, I don't think the bracket makers did them any favors there. So that's going to be tough. I believe in Io Dunsuma I believe in him. I believe in Kofi Coburn, the big man down low. I think he's going to end up being the difference in that one. So I like this Illinois team, especially if they get past that game. I think it's kind of smooth sailing from there. It's crazy that I think Loyola Chicago is going to be their toughest matchup in their bracket. Of anyone else that they'll play. Well, even though I like Houston, I like Houston as a 2 seed, but
they've got bad losses this year. They've got bad losses.
Exactly. That's why that's why like the team that scares me the most in that bracket for Illinois is actually Loyola Chicago.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, you got any more top seed upsets?
The only other top 2 seed that I would say I'm really worried about in the early rounds would be Iowa.
Yep, me too.
That's the
last one I had.
And again, I like Iowa. I think they're solid, but they're another team who had a major key rotation guy go down towards the end of the season here. And then they're going to see Oregon in the second round. I would assume if Oregon and VCU,
or VCU, I had Oregon. Either one.
Yeah, it could be VCU. Either one. That's a tough 7-10 matchup to get in the second round. And Iowa is a little bit 3-point dependent for me, even though they have Luka Garza down low. They don't get a lot of dribble penetration, although I love the way that they move without the basketball and things like that, and the way they shoot it to space the floor. But if those shots aren't falling, I could run into issues for them, and their guard play isn't superb. So that's where Iowa is the 2 seed that I think probably scares me the most. I don't have them losing to Oregon in the second round, but I am worried about them losing in the second round. I didn't have Michigan losing in the second round either, by the way. For those of you Michigan fans, I still got them making a deep run, but I'm banking that on Isaiah Livers coming back and being healthy.
I got them losing. I'm telling you guys right now, you guys look at my bracket, you're going to be like, this guy is crazy. Every pick I'm throwing out here right now, I actually picked this on my bracket, okay? So that's all the top. That's the third team I had as well. I had Iowa there. In a spot, and I do not. And I'll say about Ohio State, I don't think they're going to lose in the first round because I like what I think the matchup will end up being. I think it ends up being Virginia Tech, but I actually like that matchup for them. So I think they advance. I don't know if I love their team, but I think that they advance to the Sweet 16. So, all right, let's do this. Looking at like teams that are in the 4 to 8, kind of like that range. Which of those teams do you think could actually make a deep run?
So the team that I really like to make a deep run is USC.
Dog, I'm freaking sick of you. Are you serious, dog? Yo, are you kidding me? Bro, you check my notes, bro, right here. USC, yo, that is crazy.
Listen, man. Listen. This USC team is real. For those of you that don't watch college basketball or don't follow it very closely, Evan Mobley is next level.
Yes, sir.
Like he just won Freshman of the Year in the Pac-12, Player of the Year in the Pac-12, and Defensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12. No other player's ever done that in the Pac-12. And I don't know that I need to name all the UCLA greats that have coming out of there. Now, granted, Lou Alcindor at the time, now known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, could not play as a freshman due to the rules back then. I'm sure he probably would have did that. But the fact that this kid in a conference loaded with talent and history is the first one to ever do that, and the only player in the country in any conference besides Anthony Davis to do that should put everyone here on notice. Evan Mobley is an athletic, mobile, versatile big man. His brother, Isaiah Mobley, is also on the team and a very solid player for them. They've got good guard play. Taj Edey has been playing great for them. And they have a very favorable bracket here. I have them going all the way to the Elite Eight. I have them knocking off Iowa in the Sweet 16, Kansas Kansas second round, and then Iowa in the Sweet 16. And I think they give Gonzaga a real shot in that Elite Eight.
Yeah.
I love Gonzaga and how they're built. My biggest concern about them is that they're undefeated. Does that sound crazy?
No, and who the last team to go undefeated the whole way through was UCLA back a million years ago, right?
Right, yeah. And then Kentucky almost did it and lost to Wisconsin that one year.
And UNLV almost did it in the early 90s. They won the championship the first year, and the second year went undefeated and lost.
Right. So that's hard to do, man. And you're talking about, not only are we talking about an undefeated team, but an undefeated team coming from the WCC. So, like, don't get me wrong, they ran through a lot of the top teams that they played early on. So that's why people like really love Gonzaga. And again, they're loaded with talent. Jalen Suggs is incredible, but like they have not played anyone really, really good in a long time. And I think that matters when it comes down late in the tournament. I think they'll be fine in the early rounds, but like when they see USC, that could be. I took Gonzaga in that game, but I would not be shocked if USC wins that game in there and if they find themselves in the Final Four.
Yeah, I love the USC pick. I had them as well. And to touch on Gonzaga, I 100% agree with you. I do not have them in the championship game. You know, I think this is a different story, right? You remember back early in the year, they had that huge matchup, that 1-2 matchup with Baylor. And that was supposed to be that was amazing. And then it got canceled. And then we didn't get to see. I mean, they had big games in there, but they had Kansas, who didn't turn out to be who we thought they were anyway. But if they could have had that Baylor game, that would have been able to just kind of put a stamp on it and said, like, no, we're for real. They didn't get that. And listen, like, you know, we do this in the NBA a lot, me and you, when we talk, and we're like, okay, like, this guy, he proved to us he can't do it. I'm not picking him anymore. Like, you know what? He's on my shit list. Like, we don't do that in college as much because the players cycle in and out. But really, if you look at these programs, it's pretty consistent, right? Like, you know, like, I'm a pretty big proponent of the winners win and losers lose mentality.
Yep.
And Mark Few is a loser to me. I mean, he just, like, you know what I'm saying? He don't win the big game. Like,
in the big ones, yes.
The big ones. Obviously, you know, he puts his team in a position. You know, you think about all of the great teams that they've had. They just haven't been able to win the big one. And I don't see how that changes. So back to our topic here. I had USC as well. Another one I had was Texas Tech. You know, Matt McClung, I think, is a guard who can carry a team, I think, and can steady the hand of a team. I don't know how far they make it because they do run into Arkansas, who's a team that I really like as a 3 seed in that second round matchup. I already mentioned Loyola Chicago. I have them all the way in my Elite 8 because of the fact that I have them beating Illinois. And then Liberty would be their Sweet 16 matchup, where I also have an upset. And then, yeah, I mean, that's St. Bonaventure I mentioned. I have them all the way in the Elite 8 as well because I have them beating Michigan, and I have Georgetown also making the Sweet 16 after beating Colorado and then Florida State. And then St. Bonaventure making the Elite 8. So, yeah. So I also have USC. Any other ones?
Yeah. I have Texas Tech in my Final Four, so I am on board with you there.
How about that?
I think
we should do a podcast together. You know that?
Agreed, my friend. Agreed. But yeah, I'm with you there. You have a little more upsets than I do.
I'm crazy, man. I'm freaking crazy, man.
Going past the second round, I have a lot of first round upsets and second round.
Yeah.
Well, second round it kind of dies off a little bit. But the other team I kind of like is San Diego State. I'm not sleeping on San Diego State. Technically, I have them losing in the Sweet 16 to Houston.
Yeah.
But they could easily beat Houston. I think they could easily beat Houston. I like these 6 seeds this year, man. I don't know what it is.
I've always been attracted to 6 seeds, to be honest. I have. So, okay, let's see here. So, do you want to do Final Four? You want to back it out to Elite 8? How far do you want to take it?
Let's do Elite 8 and then our winners in each of those matchups.
Okay. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go. So as you know, we already said I have Gonzaga over USC. I have Alabama over Michigan in the Elite 8. I have Texas Tech over Baylor, and then I have Illinois over Houston to make up my Final Four.
Okay. I have Gonzaga over USC, same as you. I have Alabama as well, defeating St. Bonaventure. I have Baylor defeating Arkansas. I think that might be the game of the tournament. And then I have West Virginia defeating Chicago. I'm not sold on West Virginia. I'm really not, but I'm really not sold on anybody in this bracket. Illinois is the best team. Illinois is the best team in this bracket. And if I'm looking at it and I'm saying who's the best team, it's Illinois. But I have them losing in the second round in an upset, so I can't have them in the Final Four. So,
agreed.
So you've got Gonzaga, Alabama, Baylor, and Texas Tech.
Texas Tech and Illinois.
Texas Tech and Illinois. So then who do you got from there?
So I have Gonzaga beating Alabama. I went back and forth on that one. And then I have Illinois beating Texas Tech.
So I have Alabama beating Gonzaga. This is where they lose the big game. Alabama's been awesome, dude. I mean, the SEC tournament and even leading up to that, they have been unreal.
Yeah.
So I have them beating Gonzaga, actually making the national championship game. How about that? Alabama in a basketball national championship game. And then I have Baylor defeating West Virginia. So my championship is Baylor and Alabama. And yours is Gonzaga and Illinois?
Yep.
Who do you got? Sounds like Illinois.
Yes, I have Illinois winning it all. This is where I think Gonzaga loses the big one. Because I just think there's going to be so much pressure on them to, run the table, and this will be the last one. But the biggest difference to me is Kofi Cockburn down low. As much as I like Drew Timme from Gonzaga, they're 5-man. He's not nearly big enough to deal with Kofi Cockburn down there. So, I think that's going to be an issue for them and a problem for them. I think Illinois also has the better guard play overall, even though I love Jalen Suggs, top 3 or 4 pick in the draft. Really love his game. But give me Io. Give me Adam Miller. I love those guys. Adam Miller's come on strong. The freshman has come on strong for them late. And they just won the toughest conference in college basketball this year, which was the Big Ten.
Right.
To me, that was by far the toughest conference this year, as the ACC was down. So I think they keep that momentum going all the way through, and they're this year's national champions. I believe first time since Darren Williams, D. Brown, Luther Head. Did they win it all?
Definitely.
Yeah, they won it all, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they won it all. Yeah, and that's cool. I'm good with that, right? I love the idea of the Illinois program back, quote unquote back where they should be. My opinion. I remember some of my first memories of NCAA tournament was like Illinois and Arizona going at it. I remember.
Yes, I remember that game.
Awesome. I remember even after those games, going back in the NCAA vault. I don't know if they still have that, but you could watch like any March Madness game from whenever. And I would watch those games over and over again. I loved those teams. So so you've got Illinois winning it all. I've got Baylor defeating Alabama. I just think you look at a complete team, the scoring that they have, right? They've got 3 guys who can absolutely get buckets pretty much at any time. Scott Drew has proven that he can. I don't want to say he's proven he's win a national championship game, but he's proven that he can coach in big games and keep a steady hand. I don't think Alabama is quite there yet, but I do think that program is going to be up and coming, and we might be seeing them in a national championship game again soon. I just think Baylor is the best team. I think even when you look at the totality of this season and how weird it's been, I know people will probably say Gonzaga had the best overall season because they're undefeated, but I would actually say Baylor has because they played in the Big 12, which it's up there as one of the best conferences, and we don't normally say that about the Big 12. But you think about all the good teams that they had this year, and Baylor was able to hold their own better than anybody. So I'm going with Baylor, but I wouldn't be surprised if this goes crazy and they lose in the second round. Who knows, man? That's why you love it.
Yeah, that's why everyone loves college basketball, is because you can do all the research in the world on these brackets and things like that, and it goes out the window in the first day. So I don't and that's why it's really like gambling, right? When you're doing these brackets, if you do them for money at all, it's no different than gambling, really. Because you never know what's going to happen. Because it's a one and done thing. It's never, if we're talking like series of 3 or 5 or 7, maybe you're looking at something different, but you have one game. And if you're not on your game that one night, you could lose. And that's what everyone loves about March Madness.
And that's the beauty of it, right? It's really the, this and football is the only ones with this like finality in these important games, right? That makes
exactly.
So unless you're talking game 7, in the NBA or MLB or NHL, then it's that same sense. But like every game is a game 7 with this, right? Every game is a game 7, and that's what makes it so fun. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I didn't think I was going to get into it as much as I did this year, and it should be fun. It should be good. Something to watch.
Agreed, man. Agreed. I'm excited for this tournament. I'm excited to see some because every year the tournament births a new star.
Yes.
When it comes to future NBA talent, stuff like that. Steph Curry.
Yep.
Is guys like that. Fred VanVleet from his Wichita State days. Those guys are born in the tournament. Their notoriety comes from the tournament. Right. I wonder who that'll be this year.
Right.
Out of any of these, lower end or mid-major teams who becomes a star out of nowhere after a good tournament run.
Yeah, and I mean, there is always that guy, and I think now with like the advanced scouting, and we're scouting these guys when they turn 13 years old, like there's not as much of a this guy pops on the scene, because a lot of times now NBA scouts will look at him and like, whatever, he got hot for 6 games, which sucks, right? That used to be awesome. You'd find a guy and then you'd be like, I want my team to draft that guy because he gets buckets, right? I even remember was Carson Edwards, was he last year or 2 years ago for Purdue? Where he was just going 2 years ago. He went nuts in the tournament. Ridiculous in the tournament, right? And then now he doesn't even get any run with the Celtics. He was in and out of the G League. Okay, that is all the March Madness topics we had today. Coop, tell the people what is going on with the All In Network.
Well, guys, even though we've been off, we've still been doing some work behind the scenes. So coming up soon, our app is going to be getting a pretty major update. So as you guys know, if you have the All In Network app, right now only our audio podcast and our social media feed is all that's on there right now. But All In Politics will be coming to that app here in the next few days. So be on the lookout for an update to our app. If you don't already have it, make sure you download it and be ready for that update. Our YouTube channel is going to be on there. So anything All In Network related, us and All In Politics, all of our content is going to be available for you in this one app. No more having to go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your audio. Or if you watch us on YouTube, there's no having to go search for us and things like that. You can go right to the app, find your, you can listen to us right through the app, or you can find our YouTube channel right through there. If you missed a tweet from us, you can find it. You'll still be able to find it on the app. It's going to be great. It's going to get a new look, new layout. So make sure you guys download that. If you listen to the podcast or watch the podcast on YouTube, make sure you guys go download that. It's available on the Apple Store or Google Play Store as of right now.
Yeah, that is awesome. So we are super excited to be able to do that and get the All In Network out there on the app, all in one place, right? Us and All In Politics. Who we're looking to link up with soon. So hopefully we can make that happen. We're going to be back, like I said, every Thursday. You can expect us. Should be some things popping up on the website soon, so you can always head there, allinnetwork.net. You can find merchandise there as well, and links to all of the podcasts wherever you want to listen or watch, and the blog is there as well. So head over allinnetwork.net. Make sure you head over mybookie.ag. Use the promo code ALLINPOD. Get that 100% match bonus. Let them know that we sent you with that promo code ALLINPOD. Free money, guys. Free money from us. Okay? So we're giving you guys free money. At least you can do is tell your friends about our awesome podcast. Okay? So, all right, guys. That is all we got today. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys next Thursday.
See you guys. Thanks for tuning in.